Hi folks, welcome to part 2 of the Why Did My Ariel Seize Up saga. First of all, a big thank you for all of the positive comments you left on my original video. Really some useful things there, some good discussion points, thank you. And I'll try and cover some of those points now. If you haven't watched my first video, you need to go back and see it, otherwise you won't understand what I'm on about. Okay. First of all, quite a few of you mentioned weak mixture. I did ask you, held my plug is that weak. And there was a consensus really that it was on the weak side, possibly okay, possibly weak. It is a bit weak, I think. And I've gone up a main jet size. I've ordered one and it'll be one size bigger when I build it up. Now the other thing, of course, was the barrel to piston clearance. And that's been kind of sorted. Just get my bits here. So here's the barrel now. And you might see, if I hold it's a bit hard to see really, can you sort of see there's some hone in there? Yep. So I said in the video it was a bit on the tight side, and I took it to MH honing to have it measured up properly and to hone it out. Now I had said in the video it was a very tight 3 thou feeler gauge at the bottom, at the most about 4 near the top. He measured it accurately and he said in places at the top it was a 6 thou clearance. In the middle it was around about 4 thou, and down near the skirt it was 2.5 in places. So I've got a tapered barrel that was undersized. Ariel recommend 5 to 7 thou. Some of you suggested bigger than that, but that's what Ariel say, 5 to 7 thou. So I got MH to hone it for me, and as he said some bits were close to 6, we did it at 6 thou. And it's come out really good. All of the scratches and scores and the bits of aluminium have all cleaned up. Every bit of the barrel cleaned up at 6. Some of it is still a tiny bit darker than other bits where the 6 thou was just touching it because it was 6 thou, but it's lovely. It's a really good job. So well done, MH honing. Piston cleaned up, that's really good. And while I was looking into the head and barrel, there's also the matter of the gasket, or lack of gasket, to seal the head. It's just a ground surface. You put grinding paste on here and on the barrel and just grind away. And actually I was quite pleased because you know how bad the rest of it was. But these surfaces you might see on there look a light grey colour, can't quite tell. And certainly on the barrel, a very light grind, and all of these surfaces came up nicely. You could just tell it was contacting all around, no high spots, no low spots. So that is good news. Now also on the barrel front, we get this back, is these threads here, the head. You remember the head bolts were almost impossible to remove even when I took them out 2 or 3 threads. So we've measured up the threads, and these have been obviously bored out, tapped and dyed to a much coarser thread than it should be. The original, you probably can't tell, is, see it clear there? Maybe not, is this size, which is a 3/8 by 26 threads per inch. And my new one is 7/16, quite a big difference, by 18 threads per inch. Now 18 is not ideal for a cylinder head. You haven't got much finesse in tightening it up. But this has obviously been done in the past. And also, if you look at the head, you can possibly see here it's been bored out, the head's been bored out to take the much bigger bolts. It's very close to the edge. And so what do we do with those? Well, somebody suggested helicoils. Well, that wouldn't be ideal for those, they need to be quite tight. And actually when I run the tap down, these threads cleaned up really nicely. I'm not quite sure what happened with why they were so tight before, but it was a nightmare taking those horrible cap head things out. But I cleaned these up, I got a decent tap, cleaned it all out, got those loads of, it wasn't really metal came out, but loads of sort of muck and rust and God knows what. And now with a new 7/16 bolts, they screw in by hand, just lovely. You can almost hear that. And they screw in really nice. So these are some replacement bolts. They're not the originals. There isn't really space to put some kind of insert in there because they've already been bored out more than you'd want to. So unless somebody out there can make a very good high toughened steel insert that takes that size down to that size, they've got to stay as they are. But that's fine. So that's the head done. So yeah, that's what's the progress on this. The seizure was because it was hot, clearance was too low. I've sorted out the clearance. I'm going to richen it up to make it a bit richer, but what I have got to sort out next is all the threads on the rocker cover. You saw they were all ridiculously tight, so I've got to sort those out, and I'm going to do that next. Let's go and have a look over there. So the inlet rocker cover, you may remember, had two damaged threads. One's got an M8 helicoil in it. There's bits of helicoil missing, it just looks a bit odd. It works, but it's not ideal. The other one had been brazed up in the past, there's all brass around it, threaded out, but then the bolt just pulled straight out. I don't know if you remember on an early video, you just put the bolt in, pull it out, it was just rubbish. Well, I did try a helicoil lap with a correct size, 5/16 26 helicoil kit, but when I put the drill down to helicoil it, it barely touched the sides. It seems to be at a bit of an angle anyway inside there, but it's just horrible. And I did put a helicoil in, and although it was okay at the top of the bolt, it just didn't work very well. It was just horrible. So what I've decided to start again from scratch. Now, some of you will like this solution, some won't. That's fine. I've used it many times before. What I'm doing is, in fact, what I've done, if you look carefully, I'm not sure if that'll focus or not on that hole there, you will notice it's full of something grey. It is JB weld, an epoxy steel reinforced weld. Now that stuff, oh pardon, that is heavy. That stuff is really, really strong. Look it up on YouTube, there's all kinds of tests on people testing different solutions to strip threads. JB weld does very well. It's almost strong enough, in fact it probably is, to just drill it and tap straight into it and go back to standard. But really, that's not ideal. It hasn't quite got the strength. Although you don't need a lot for a rocker cover. So what I'm going to do is drill it out and helicoil it properly with a 5/16 26 helicoil. So I've gone back to the correct size. It's got a helicoil which is generally much stronger than the original anyway. And the JB weld should have filled up some of the gaps behind it in the mess, and hopefully it'll work. Now, as I said, it was drilled at a bit of an angle, seemingly in the past. So what I'm doing, I'm going to do it properly. I've got a miller with a chuck on. I've made on my lathe a little spacer that sort of fits in, just seeing there. Nice, firm locating fit in there. Both sides are turned. I can put that in the milling machine in my chuck. That way I can line this up very, very well. Get that all in position, bolt the head down, then take that out, put a drill in my chuck, drill straight down, then remove that, and then I'll have the drill, the hole in the right place, ready to tap, and it should work out really, really well. That's the plan. We'll see if it works. And I said, if it doesn't work, if for some reason it pulls out, or I mean it shouldn't do, but I can always go to the time certs. They are really, really good quality time certs. They saved me many times when racing on some really badly damaged things. But I just do not do the original size, and it'd be nice to get back to the original size. If this works out all right, I'll whip out the M8 helicoil, do exactly the same, and get the whole lot back to kind of standard. We'll see. So now I'm going to line this up, bolt it all down, make sure it's all lined up, and get ready to get drilling. Wish me luck. So as you can see, the head's in position, it's securely bolted down, proper big bolts holding that down, that's secure to the table. Table of course is perpendicular to this, and you can probably just see here, if I just wind it out, there's my little locating peg which I did to locate with the hole in there. So that locates lovely. So what I need to do now is drop the table back down, remove this, put the drill in, and then everything will be lined up beautifully to drill straight down through into there, ready for the tap. Let's get going. So I've drilled a pilot hole. I've got a depth mark on this drill with the tape in that position there, and that's the drill that I need before tapping out for the helicoil for the original 5/16. So I'll get going on that. Makes a bit of noise this, so I'll probably stop filming. Okay, wind it up. Oh, if you're wondering why I haven't taken the valves out, and all the muck going in there, I'm taking the valves out afterwards and cleaning my whole head, checking them, doing my whole lot. just want to get this done first. Okay, that's worked quite well. I've got as deep as I wanted to go. I had to change the drilling speed a couple of times just to get it right. Interestingly, there was a crack that's been brazed, and all the way down the side of the hole to the bottom you can still see the crack there. Obviously this brace is holding it in place, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. His head's obviously had better days. But yeah, I've got enough depth I think to put a proper helicoil in. So what I need to do now is disconnect from here, tap it and see how it works. Fingers crossed. So I'm just running the tap down now, and yeah, feels good. Interestingly, there was quite a lot of braze came out, bits of cast iron, well very little cast iron, there was bits of everything come out. I don't think it would have made a good enough thread just for the bolt, but I think for a helicoil this should work, but we'll see. So I've run the tap down nice and deep, now I'm going to put the helicoil in and then hopefully it'll all be okay. We'll see. Now you remember when I took my engine apart on the first video that these rocker cover bolts were really quite difficult to take out. One of them was just missing, you know, it was loose rather, you could pull it straight out by hand. One's an M8, but the other threads were really quite poor. Well, I've spent a lot of time cleaning those up and investigating, and basically the threads in the actual head, apart from the M8 one, were actually not too bad. They were full of oil and just debris really, and they took a lot of cleaning out my tap. You'd be surprised, it didn't really take much metal off, but it kept pulling a lot of muck out. So I've tapped in and out of those with a number one tap and then a plug tap, and I basically got the threads really nice, so that's quite encouraging. But when you look at the bolts that I took out, then they're different lengths, not just the longer ones for the two end bits, they're different lengths. Some of them have got the last couple of threads chopped off or rounded off, and each one had certainly, you know, about 1/8 of an inch at the end, the threads, or more actually, 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. The threads at the end were sort of burred over and obviously struggled to, you know, go into a thread. So what had happened, I presume, is these threads, which I found in the head to be very messed up, you know, filthy and not very good, I think, cleanliness, the bolts that went in have been tightened down and just damaged the threads at the end. So all of the head bolts, sorry, the rocker cover bolts are going to have to be replaced, which is fine. So I'll have proper rocker cover bolts, the threads all cleaned up like I said, and actually even these ones that I took out, because I've run a dye down them all and cleaned them all up, I won't use them, but you know, run a dye down to get them correct. I can now do those up by hand, whereas before it was a big screwdriver and trying to undo the things. So I'm now in a position, I've got all of the rocker cover bolts holes in my head sorted out. So that's quite encouraging. Off to Dragonfly, well, to phone them to order some new rocker cover bolts. Oh well, progress slowly but surely. Well, that's the progress up to date, folks, and you've seen how it's coming on. Threads on the barrel I'm quite happy with, just make do. The head ones, they're fine. The head, you know, the rocker cover ones, they're fine. Waiting for bits from Dragonfly, and then I could just assemble the whole lot and away we go. However, there's a big question to answer, and I still haven't made my mind up. Should I strip the whole bottom end to see what damage is down there? It was running beautifully, I've done over 1,000 miles, sounded nice, but having seen what the top end was like, really I perhaps should strip the bottom. Now you're welcome to leave your comments, and I'm pretty sure 90% will say of course you should strip the bottom, but I want to get out there, get a few miles in before the summer comes. Were it November, I'd strip everything down. I've got loads of other things to do. I'm overwhelmed with stuff. I could do without stripping it down. I don't know. I still haven't decided. I'll make my mind up very shortly. Anyway, enough for now. I hope you've enjoyed this video, folks, the progress update. Don't forget to click like on the old button if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next video when either the bottom comes out and I'll show you what's that like, or the top goes back on. I don't know yet. We'll see. Bye.